So let's talk about 5 common mistakes I see plenty of DJs make, both beginner and experienced, when doing blend transitions. And fixing these can make your mixes sound a lot cleaner and a lot more professional. So let's start with the first one, and that has to do with these right here, the meters on your mixer. So if I play a track, notice I'm one light right below red. What I like to do sometimes is get that right before it turns red, or just like kind of touching red, and back it down a little bit. That way I know that the song is right at the maximum level before it starts distorting, pretty much depending on your mixer, but it's a good rule of thumb to kind of stay out of the red. So if I'm right there, and then I have this song on this side, and I do the same thing, kind of bring it down right below red, or just touching red, right there. Now I know these two songs' volumes, when I have the volume faders all the way up, will be pretty much the same level. Now, this is a really good way to use the meters on your mixer or your controller. I see a lot of DJs that really don't care about where the songs are volume-wise on here, and then they'll end up cranking the gains or turning them down as the mix is happening. But if you take a quick second to just kind of dial that in before you start blending in the next song, your volume levels will be a lot more consistent and they'll sound a lot better. Now, secondly, I want to talk about these right here, the low EQs. Now, in the past, in older mixers, you see a lot of DJs fully crank this all the way down to kill the low end in the song that they're playing. But on most modern mixers and DJ controllers, a lot of these are now what are called full kill, meaning if you turn this all the way down, you lose all the low end. Where in the past, in older mixers, this would probably be like minus 12 dB, minus 8, minus 16 dB, and there'd still be some low end left. So what happens now that these are full kill, when you crank it all the way down, you actually lose a lot of energy in the track because you're taking out a lot more than you're used to, and it kind of gives an undesirable effect. So for example, if I start blending this in, and I start this, notice this one has like a nice little bass line. Now it's totally gone. Where that could be cool, in most instances, you'll probably want it around here, around 9 o'clock, I would say. So instead of having something like this, right there at 9 o'clock, you have a little bit of that low end element of the song you're bringing in, and it just sounds a lot fuller in the track. And same thing goes for the song you're bringing out, right? So for instance, I don't want to full kill it because it's so thin. Sounds super thin. Not exactly what we're going for. So my rule of thumb is, if you're going to bring down the low EQ of the song you're bringing out, or have it turned down for the song you're bringing in, don't full kill it. Leave it around about 9 o'clock, like right here. You're going to get a lot better results. It's going to sound a lot more full without overpowering the mix. And that brings me to my next point, which is not having both of these at 12 o'clock when you're bringing both songs in if you're doing a longer blend. When you do this, what happens is, if both of them are at 12 o'clock or at 0, whatever you want to call it, it's going to be really loud, right? So, for instance, notice the meters right here. All of a sudden they're in the red, right? Now I take this song out, now the levels are out of the red, and you lose that little bit of energy because the volume went up, right? So instead of doing that for a long blend, use these to kind of shape the sound to even it out. So when you go from song A to song B, it's a consistent volume level, and that means a consistent energy level. I see a lot of DJs that bring in both tracks with both low ends at 12 o'clock, and then once they transition to that next song, you lose a little bit of energy, and then they're scrambling to turn the volume up even more on the track, which can just lead to the next issue, which I like to call volume or gain creep, right? So in instances like that, where you go from two songs that have the bass all the way up and that volume is tapping the red, and then you transition over and the volume goes down, the DJ will turn this one up, and because that one's louder, the next song that they bring in, they're gonna have to turn that one up, and so on and so forth, and it just goes and snowballs, and the volume just creeps up like this, and by the end of the night, all the meters are pinned to the red, sounds a little distorted or a lot distorted. And if you're a DJ that's been playing for a few hours, because your ears do get tired and they start to close up a little bit, it's kind of natural to turn the gain up as you go. But also, if you're doing that from the beginning of the night all the way through, you're not even gonna realize how distorted the sound is once you get to towards the end of the night and you have everything cranked up. It happens all the time. I know experienced DJs kind of manage this a little bit better, but I've seen them do it too. So you don't want distorted sound coming out of the speakers. It may seem like it feels louder, but it really doesn't. When you crush a system like that, the sound ends up coming out thinner, distorted, and it just tires everybody's ears out, and no one wants to hear that kind of DJ mix. And finally, the last mistake that I see a lot of DJs make has to do with the effects. Now, a really common effect is an echo, right? But notice right here, the wet dry of the echo, where I have it, probably around 10 o'clock. I see a lot of DJs starting their effect at 12 o'clock, and it just kind of tails out too long. And in some mixers, it actually becomes louder than the music and just overpowers everything. It's kind of jarring and startling to the crowd. And instead of just enhancing the track and enhancing the transition, you're actually taking away from it and just not making it sound as smooth or as professional as possible. So for instance, let's go from this track on this side. Then I'll bring this one in. And then I'll use the echo out, but leave it on way too high. Now compare that to this right here. So we'll start this over. Do that again. Now I'll end at about 10 o'clock on the echo. Sounds a lot smoother and doesn't intrude into the mix. Literally adds onto the mix and just that extra sprinkle of a little bit of style instead of just being really in the front and making the crowd really pay attention to that effect instead of paying attention to the music, which they should be when you're blending songs and putting a set together. All right, guys, that's it for me today. I hope this video helped you out and pointed out 5 different things that I see a lot of DJs doing wrong when they're doing blend transitions. And I'm really interested, is there any other tips for blend transitions and making the sound cleaner and more professional that you guys have? Go ahead and leave that down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And as always, if you find this video useful, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you're interested in more DJ related content, go ahead and click on one of the videos right here. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.